Hey y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and Harriet Hageman calls out Jamie Raskin for being absolutely ridiculous to the point of ghoulish over this incredibly important bill. Let's dive in.
My Republican colleagues have put forward multiple bills this markup that reflect what they say is a renewed focus on protecting kids against trafficking and exploitation. Well, this is the test. If our colleagues are serious, and I believe they are, then they should be happy and eager to join me in supporting this amendment. The text before you is the same text as Mr. Massey and Mr. Khanna's discharge petition that every Democrat and 4 of our Republican colleagues have joined in. In just the last 48 hours, we've seen how important it is that the public actually get to see the Epstein files for ourselves. The Oversight Committee has received Mr. Epstein's entire 50th birthday book, courtesy of Mr. Epstein's estate. This includes the now infamous and slightly juvenile birthday note and drawing that President Trump denied existed at all. Well, this is now public, and it clearly includes the president's signature. He's disputing that it's his signature, but it looks exactly like about 100 other signatures that we have from the president, including on federal legislation.
The gentlelady from Wyoming is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kayla's mother is watching this hearing. She cannot figure out for the life of her what Jeffrey Epstein has to do with her daughter and this bill. Kayla was murdered in Maryland. Where was the ranking member then? What efforts did he make to ensure that no other senseless murder like this happened? Using the life and death of Kayla Hamilton to score political points against the president is absolutely despicable. I'm going to read from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security Office of Inspector General, the report that was issued on March 25th of this year, entitled, "ICE cannot effectively monitor the location and status of all unaccompanied alien children after federal custody," because that's what the point of this bill is to address. Quote, "After meeting with more than 140 individuals from DHS and other federal agencies, we determined U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement cannot effectively monitor the location and status of all unaccompanied alien children once released or transferred from the Department of Homeland Security and the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services custody. From fiscal years 2019 to 2023, ICE transferred more than 448,000 UACs to HHS. Most were released to sponsors. However, more than 31,000 of the 448,000 children release addresses were blank, undeliverable, or missing apartment numbers. ICE also was not always aware of the location for UACs who fled HHS custody. We found that ICE did not effectively oversee UACs subject to removal by not issuing notices to appear to all UACs to generate assignment of immigration court dates by the U.S. Department of Justice. As of January 2025, ICE had not served NTAs on more than 233,000 unaccompanied minors. Kayla Hamilton was brutally murdered by Walter Javier Martinez, a UAC who was released to a sponsor, an individual who was responsible for housing and supervising the UAC by HHS before any background checks were completed. Kayla Hamilton was brutally murdered by Walter Javier Martinez, a UAC who was released to a sponsor by HHS before any background checks were completed. It is critically important that we stay on task with the issue that is before us today, and that is addressing the brutal murder of Kayla Hamilton and ensuring that this kind of a tragedy never happens again. This is not about Jeffrey Epstein. If the folks on the other side of the aisle would like to bring a bill about Jeffrey Epstein, we can address that. Do not sully Kayla Hamilton's name or her memory by turning this into a political sideshow. I urge my colleagues to vote in favor of this very well-crafted, important bill. It is critical It is critical that we be able to protect people like Kayla Hamilton. With that, I yield back.
We're currently talking about the Kayla Hamilton Act, who was a person who lost her life to an illegal immigrant, not just an illegal immigrant, an unaccompanied, let's see, what's the right word for this? Unaccompanied alien child. This is someone who has crossed our border and is supposedly having ties to people here in the United States, but we can't confirm it. What do you mean we can't confirm it and we allow this to continue to happen? And imagine, if you will, let's go one step even crazier. This happened in Jamie Raskin's home state. Yes, Jamie Raskin cares about an issue not related to the bill, but is somehow still in the ballpark, so he's going to fuse the two issues together. And instead of saying, you know what, Russell Fry has a good bill here, we need to vote on this and pass this out, instead he's making this all about something that isn't even going on the ball field. It's in the ballpark, but he ain't talking about the action on the field. Okay? Well, what a surprise. Fed Chair Jerome Powell has just fueled hopes for a rate cut, and of course the price of gold moved higher. Safe haven assets like gold and silver tend to get higher when rates are cut. And that's exactly why I have partnered with the award-winning company Goldco. They sell precious metals like gold and silver, and they do an amazing job with it because they keep it simple. So if you are ready to learn how Goldco can help protect your savings with gold and silver, I want you to go to PolitibralGold.com. You can get a free 2025 gold and silver kit. Plus, you can learn how to get a 10% back on silver for free. It's literally the best silver offer on the market. So don't miss this one. That's PolitibralGold.com. Again, visit PolitibralGold.com to protect your savings. You know when you have those sportscasters who go off in the weeds and they're just awful to listen to? They drone on and you just want them to talk about the game or they're ruining the game experience? That is what it's like listening to Jamie Raskin on this bill. I covered him a little bit earlier on another video from the same day, I believe, and makes this thing just completely more ghoulish. That he would dare try to score extra political points instead of fixing a problem that we have with our immigration system. This is what the Kayla Hamilton Act does. This bill requires the Department of Health and Human Services to consider additional information when it makes placement determinations for unaccompanied alien children in its custody. Under federal law, an unaccompanied alien child, a UAC, is a minor with no lawful immigration status and no parent or legal guardian in the United States to provide care and physical custody. In other words, we're asking for more information in order to allow this immigration to happen. That sounds common sense, right? How is this not already passed into law? How is this not already a thing? Well, of course, after the disastrous Joe Biden administration, we saw millions of people pour across the border, and people like Kayla Hamilton lost her life because of one of these unaccompanied alien children. Yeah, that's the long and short of it. So asking for more information and having a better, more secure background in order to allow this information to be passed back and forth, and of course to allow this person to cross the border, that sounds like a good idea, Jamie. As a matter of fact, it's such a good idea that of course Jamie Raskin would much rather talk about the Epstein files. Okay, we have an ability to protect Americans guaranteed right here, right now, and instead he's trying to score extra political points. This is disgusting. All right? This is how low the Democrat Party will stoop. And by the way, Raskin, I like to call him the rascally Jamie Raskin. This dude is perhaps the smartest mouthpiece for the Democratic National Committee right now. He is the smartest person on their staff. He's the smartest person in their bullpen. He's better on the draw than Dan Goldman. He's better than Jared Moskowitz. And all of these guys actually have good working relationships with Republicans. But I cannot imagine a world now where he has not burned a ton of bridges with him opening his mouth the way he has this past week. We've already seen what happens when you get away from the truth of a matter and instead want to talk about something that isn't exactly related to this definitely needed bill. This does nothing to forward debate. This does nothing to change the way people might look at this bill. And by the way, when you look up the actions, it passed the committee on the 10th, voted 16 to 13, I believe, along strict party lines. Strict party lines? You mean a common sense bill that simply requires HHS to consider additional information? That was not a bipartisan bill? This is insanity. This is absolute insanity. And while the Democrats turn a blind eye to what is potential trafficking on one end, they're magically caring about this on the other. Never forget, folks, that the Epstein files have been known about for a long time, at least 6 years, okay? We've been talking about this for 6 years, and just magically, in the past few months, guys like Jamie Raskin are starting to talk about it. I wonder why. This whole thing is political posturing to do something that is unhinged if you are a congressman. Your job is to pass good legislation, to make sure that the executive branch isn't doing something dumb, that the judicial branch isn't doing something dumb. That is your job, to represent your people. And instead of doing that, instead of doing your job, you're doing something that's outside of your job. No wonder Harriet Hageman is just looking at him like she's throwing daggers at his soul. I can't help but wonder if people started to realize that there's a bit of a stench that now follows Raskin wherever he goes. He is burrowing through his political capital left and right in an attempt to get the Democrats to give him a win here. That's not good for the country. That's not good for the Congress. And that's definitely not good for Jamie Raskin, let alone the people like Kayla Hamilton. Shame on Jamie Raskin for this. This is unconscionable. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. My name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on Politibrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Until then, y'all have a good one.